Thank you. Start today by asking a question. What interest rate does your bank currently offer you on your account?
Minus
0.1%, mine is 0.8, 1%, it's very, very low. Does it even keep up with inflation? Oh, I need a clicker.
Sorry, my fault.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
like the last presentation.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you liked it, did you?
That's what we were saying.
So think about what interest can do for growing your wealth. With a 0.1% interest rate, if you deposit 25,000 euros, you would have, over a 5-year period, you'd have 125 euros in interest earned. I mean, that's pretty much a nice meal for 2 people, every 5 years, right? So it doesn't really do much for you. But when we look at 5 or 10%, and this is what DeFi offers, if you were to deposit 5,000 euros into your bank account, after a 5-year period with 10% interest, you would have 8,000 euros. And that is good for a very nice holiday or maybe even buying a secondhand car. But we haven't seen 10% interest since the 90s. Banks just don't offer 10% interest. And this is actually probably a bigger problem. The financial system doesn't work for everyone. With extremely low interest rates, it does not encourage saving. And for wealthy people, it allows them to borrow cheap and be able to invest in real estate, investments, etc. Luckily, there is an alternative, and that's decentralized finance, or DeFi for short. DeFi allows much higher interest rates than your traditional bank accounts would offer. And that's why it's grown from about 500 million in 2019 to about 150 billion as of today. My name is Kellogg Fairbank. With a name like mine, I really had 2 options. I had the option to actually go and make breakfast cereals, or I could make banking and finance fairer and more accessible. And I chose the latter. I'm CEO at Nash, and we are bridging traditional banking services with the exciting world of crypto and DeFi. We're trying to make these new financial opportunities accessible for everyone, both easily accessible, but also safe. You've probably seen all the headlines spread out across the news over the past couple of years. Negative interest rates, 0.08%. Interest rates in Europe are extremely low. They lag far behind inflation. So these are the most popular banks in Europe, and these are their annual returns with interest. And they, as I mentioned, lag far behind inflation. So when interest rates are low, that means saving money means losing purchasing power. And I'll explain why. So let's understand what interest is, the fundamentals of interest. Interest is generated by lending and borrowing. Interest should benefit the lenders. So you lend 1,000 euros and you get 1,100 euros back. Your bank uses your money as a reserve when issuing those loans. And then your bank earns interest on loans and shares some of that with you, right? So that's the interest that you would receive on your bank account. There's a big relationship between borrowing and lending. So when there's low interest on loans, there's also low interest on savings accounts. Why is it that interest on loans is so low? It's very simple. Governments don't want people saving money right now. And central banks force low interest rates on high street banks. So let's understand why that is. The answer is a well-known theory, and it forms modern-day policy. And it's the paradox of thrift. Essentially, if you save money, it is good for you. If everyone saves their money, it is bad for the economy. Your expenditure is another person's income, and if everyone spends less, then everyone has less income and the economy slows down. When we are fighting economic downturns, governments slash interest rates to encourage spending. So it encourages spending and discourages saving. Just look at what happened to interest rates after the 2008 financial crash. They tanked, and they haven't recovered since. Low interest rates increases inequality. So the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Wealthy people enjoy cheap borrowing, right? So store and grow wealth in investments, so real estate, other types of investments, and they use existing assets as collateral on cheap loans. Regular people cannot save. Savings accounts achieve little. With 0.08%, 0.001%, you're not making much money. And they can't afford to take advantage of cheap loans because they don't have collateral to use. So they are excluded from the few possibilities to grow their wealth. So if the financial system doesn't work for everybody, what are the alternatives? The alternative that is obviously why we're here is blockchain, right? And it's creating a new financial system that is decentralized. It removes the control of the central banks. Currencies that are free from effects of inflation, so Bitcoin. And it allows for borrowing and lending platforms where central banks cannot force low rates. So it's completely independent. And what that means is that we have a new game that's started, and that's high interest earnings become a reality again. So how does blockchain work? I would assume that a lot of us know, but to keep it simple, it is essentially, blockchain works by replacing one trusted copy of a database with multiple copies on the network. The whole network has to agree where money goes to, or has been moved to. And then you keep track of those assets reliably, but without relying on a single party being in charge. And that's it in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it, but that's it in a nutshell. So blockchain is not only about creating digital currencies such as Bitcoin, it's also smart programmable money, decentralized, DeFi. So smart contracts, such as smart contracts on Ethereum, are able to execute transfers when conditions are met. It allows us to recreate the traditional finance, financial instruments in a decentralized form. DeFi, essentially the most important thing is that there is no middleman. There's a low barrier to entry. And that's the most important thing about DeFi today. So we've spoken a little bit about DeFi in general. Let's talk more specifically about savings on the blockchain. So interest rates are determined by demand, supply and demand, right? Just like a typical bank account, interest rates are determined that way. When currencies like ETH go up, there's a lot of demand for those loans. Rates can temporarily reach 40% or more. 30-day rates can usually fluctuate between 2 and 10%, and loans are over-collateralized, so protecting lenders. But there are risks. And we are a regulated company, and we would not be, we wouldn't, it's good to explain what the risks are as well. So blockchain accounts are not insured. So with your bank account, you're insured up to 100,000 in Europe, but blockchain accounts are not insured. You also have custody of your coins. So if you lose your keys, you lose possibly access to your coins. And exploitations of smart contracts is also possible. You also have forex risks, so if the dollar falls in value, you may lose compared to your national currency. And lastly, stable coins. Coins may lose their peg to the US dollar. As we know, in DeFi, everything is pegged to the US dollar currently today. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem in DeFi today is that there's no user-friendly gateways into DeFi. So if you wanted to today take advantage of that 10% APY on DeFi, it is a multi-step, expensive, and complex process to do so. So I'd go to Binance, I would buy some ETH, then I would go to MetaMask, try and create a wallet, then I would transfer those funds to MetaMask, cost me several hundred euros to transfer. Then I would have to transfer over to Aave, cost me another several hundred euros. By the time you know it, you don't have any money left. So it's not an easy process to do for newbies. If we want mass adoption in crypto and DeFi, this is not the way. So how do we bring DeFi to everyone? Well, it has to be familiar, right? So if we want the masses to join, it has to be familiar. So your average banking app or whatever, that's familiar. You can't change somebody's behavior. It has to be simple, so one-tap deposits. And it has to be cheap. I don't want to spend 500 euros depositing funds into a DeFi account. And that's exactly what we're doing here at Nash. We are the opposite of the complex, expensive, and multi-step process. So we're one app that allows you to go with one tap into a high interest rate, or start earning high interest rates directly from your bank account. We have no blockchain fees or hidden costs. You control your funds. We're non-custodial, and it's also secure, so we're protected by advanced encryption. And we also offer choices. So we're providing a crypto savings marketplace that provides access to a variety of different savings protocols in DeFi. So the first, we have two that we offer. One is Aave, based on Ethereum, and that is a variable rate. The second is Anchor, and that is based on the Terra blockchain, and that is a stable rate of 13.5%. So just comparing savings marketplaces to Nash, Raisin, I don't know if some of you know about it, but Raisin and Flagstone out of the UK, what they do is they provide access to bank accounts with high interest rates. These are their high interest rates, 1.2% and 1.33%. This is Nash's interest rate, and that's 13.5%. That's not all. With Raisin and with Flagstone, and these are traditional finance, and we are obviously DeFi, traditional finance, they have minimum deposit amounts, and they also have a lockup period. With Nash, no minimum deposit, no lockup period. Providing higher interest rates provides the incentive for people to save. It's providing financial freedom and putting control back into regular users' hands. And it's also creating a new financial system that works for everyone. Thank you.